Hello, and welcome to the public meeting of the DC Lodge, also called National Capital Lodge. This is the first Zoom meeting of the fall program. And before I introduce our presenter, I would like to invite you all to recite the invocation with me. Everybody is muted so that there is no echo. But I just want to remind everybody that if we do it together, the vibrations are stronger, and it activates this hidden meaning of lodge meetings where we send out vibrations that affect others. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light shining in every creature. O hidden love embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. And today we have Alex with us. He is a former member of the Washington, D.C. Lodge, but he now lives and works in Wheaton. He's an assistant archivist and rare books curator at the TSA National Headquarters at Wheaton, Illinois. He was brought up on the Ukrainian-Belarusian border and encountered Theosophy at the age of 14 at a Nicholas Roerich art exhibition in his hometown, which left a lasting impression on him and motivated him to pursue the path of searching for truth. Alex joined the Theosophical Society in America in 2021 and is currently a member of the Olcott Lodge at Wheaton. Previously, he was a member of the National Lodge in Washington, D.C., as I mentioned. So help me to welcome Alex, and I'm going to mute myself, turning it over to him. And he asked that questions are asked, be left for at the end.
Hello, everyone. So I hope most of you still remember me, like from the old days in DC. Now it's in Wheaton, Illinois. Thank you for sharing this time with me today and letting me speak about the person who I really admire, and speaking about Theosophical novels as a genre a little bit, and the time of the Theosophy being in the underground. So today I would like you to see this less than a talk, but more as a contemplative journey through time and space. From our times, 21st century, United States, or the country where you are right now, to about 100 years back in Europe. Let me... Here, I can unmute, okay. The heroine of this talk is a woman theosophist, Cora Antarova, and her two lives. And two lives here, I mean both. First, it's her Theosophical novel. It's the title of the book, Two Lives. But at the same time, it's her own life story, much like the story of every Theosophist, which includes two dimensions: an outer exoteric life that everyone can see and which can sometimes seem strange to our friends or family because of the choices we make or directions we take, unless they understand that our motivations come from within, from this deeper center, from this esoteric or inner life. That was the blurb for the talk, and I wanted to share the story, not just because I want to promote her novel. It would be silly, since it's only partially translated into English, but mainly because I was fascinated by some deep aspects of her life, and also by the way she managed to deliver so many theosophical ideas with such simplicity and elegance. Her book was one that helped me to grasp some core concepts of theosophy long before I discovered theosophy itself. Also in the spring, the European Federation of Theosophical Society promoted many women theosophists, both well and less known, and I see this talk as an attempt to bring to light another story, another name and another path that may inspire others. So let us begin the journey and imagine yourself in the year 1886. H.P. Blavatsky is still alive, working on The Secret Doctrine, set to be published very soon. Nicholas Roerich is just 12 years old. And in Warsaw, now Poland, those days it was under control of Russian Empire, a little girl was born into a family with deep intellectual roots and revolutionary ties. Her name was Konkordia, or simply Cora. Cora's father was a minor government worker, and her mother was connected to members of a radical rebel group called Narodnaya Volia, or People's Will, that attempted to do anything to inspire resistance, even attempt to assassinate the Tsar. If you allow me, you can think of them as the rebel alliance of those days. So you can imagine the people and the stories this little girl was surrounded with. But what I would like to highlight right from the beginning is her name, which feels quite significant and symbolic. Forgive me for channeling John Algeo, our former national president and language expert, but I would like to share some etymology. Konkordia is the name of the Roman goddess of harmony, peace, and agreement in marriage and society. Concordis means of one heart, or sometimes people translate as of one mind. Her Greek counterpart is harmonia, which also adds the idea of harmony in music and the universe. On a side note, if anyone is looking for a baby name, that's a pretty good name. But some believe a name shapes or reflects a person's life. And Cora's name pretty much defined her longing. A constant search for harmony in life and music, within and in the outer world. But as we all know, the true harmony grows not from grace, but from the fire of hardship and lessons learned. And she had more than her fair share. She lost both parents before she turned 15. And becoming an orphan at such a young age could have sabotaged her future, but she showed remarkable resilience and quiet strength that carried her through life. She managed to finish high school, working as a tutor to pay for it at the age of 15, and right away, still being a teen by our standards, she felt called to spiritual life and decided to enter a monastery. No worries, it didn't last long. It seems like a very strange or idealistic step for us, but there is a twist. Everything fits a bigger picture. Singing in a monastic choir sparked her love for music and professional singing. And then she met with a famous priest, St. John of Kronstadt, who some say had clairvoyant abilities, and he told her that she belonged in the world, not behind monastery walls. So she listened, and with the support from friends, she moved to St. Petersburg and fell deeply in love with opera, embraced it with passion, and started taking music lessons. While preparing for the stage, she still got to serious studies in history and philology and earned her degree from one of the Russia's most influential women colleges in the country. Again, searching for harmony between the intellectual and creative parts of her life and her mind. Studying at two schools, at the conservatory, at the university, at the same time is not easy. To pay for it, Cora worked several jobs, often at night, and the stress, poor nutrition caused chronic asthma. Imagine that for an aspiring opera singer. But she pushed through and graduated near the top of her class. In 1907, she applied for a position at the renowned Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, and out of 160 candidates auditioning, she was the only one selected. And that moment launched her professional opera career and proved her exceptional talent, baked by hard work, perseverance, and passion. So she started in 1907. By 1908, she was already at the Bolshoi in Moscow, where she worked for nearly 30 years. She became known for various standout roles in Russian and European operas. Here are just a few photos that we have, and the last one, this one is one of my favorites from this period. That's from 1911, Richard Wagner's Twilight of the Gods. But here's another one, even more magnificent. Imagine that inner transformation for a young woman trying to be a countess in The Queen of Spades, an opera by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. At this moment, she became a star. But it's an interesting twist also that when actors or singers become stars, it's all about their career and achievements for them. It's all about to be on the top. But in the 1920s, when answering questions in a professional survey, Antarova wrote, "If an actor forgets me, the eye center of their life, and shifts focus from self-interest to the realization and acceptance of their personal duty to life and art, this shift may transform everything." Right after the revolution, she trained under Konstantin Stanislavski, the creator of famous acting method, or the system, which influenced the theater and movie industry all over the world and is still important today. Stanislavski revolutionized acting by shifting the focus from external performance to internal experience. He emphasized the need to live the role, not just perform it, not to pretend, but to be genuine, authentic, and true in everything you do. This influenced Antarova deeply, not only on stage, but also in her personal life, being genuine and authentic in everything. She even later wrote that all my life I carried Stanislavski's system within me. Antarova didn't like talking about herself, so we have only scarce information about her life. It seems that the more spiritually significant the situations were, the less we actually know about them. At some point, she got married. We don't know much about her husband, even his name, except that, according to her friends, he was extremely highly evolved soul and a spiritual person. But at this time, it's the 1920s, 1930s, they were pretty tough times in Russia, suspicious of anyone who didn't share communist ideals or dared to think independently, especially on spiritual and philosophical matters. After Lenin's death, all private and spiritual groups, including Theosophical lodges and private meetings, were made illegal. So a new trial awaited. Around 1930, Cora's husband was arrested and soon executed. Shortly after, she disappeared from the Bolshoi Theater and returned only 2 years later. Many legends surround this period. But was she forced out of Bolshoi by the government or left freely, and how she managed to come back remains a mystery. One of the legends and versions about this time says that it was Stalin who loved opera very much, and he used to go to Bolshoi constantly. And one day he didn't like how the singers were singing the opera, and he asked, "Why isn't Antarova singing this part? Where is she?" So naturally, she returned, or maybe she was forced to return, and worked for several more years. Having retired from the stage in 1936, she became a coach and a mentor to many singers and actors. She founded Stanislavski Center in Moscow to promote his legacy and wrote one of her most popular works for the general audience, Conversations with Stanislavski. But during this period, her esoteric inner life truly blossomed. Friends and disciples believed that by then she had developed a deep connection with one of the masters of wisdom and lived a life dedicated to serving all those who came to her for advice or guidance. In the early 1940s, during Second World War, despite not having written any fiction before, she wrote a 2,000-page-long novel about the masters of wisdom, conveying a deep theosophical message. It's called To Lives. In addition, she wrote several smaller works, sort of practical spiritual instructions to her students, and some of their titles are just beautiful: How to Live Your Life Through Your Dreary Day, or The Science of Happiness, and others. Her role as the mentor went far beyond singing lessons. Some of her mentees remembered her kind but piercing eyes that seemed to see right through you. She never gave a pat on the back, but after a meeting with her, everyone felt uplifted, as is given wings to fly. Her interest in mysticism naturally drew the attention of the government, and she lived under constant surveillance, sharing her writings only with a small circle of trusted friends. In the later years, she lived quietly outside of the city with her friend and fellow theosophist, mathematician, and university professor Olga Zuberbiller. They were even buried side by side in Moscow. Before her death, in a letter to one of her disciples, she wrote, "I never say I cannot, but I always affirm I will overcome. I never think I don't know, but say I will find a way. The past is gone, the future is unknown, and the life is the flying moment of now. A true creator is someone who lives fully in their now. We thank you, love you, and honor you now." And we hear it's her and her friend. Her occult novel Two Lives was finally published only in 1993, decades after her death. Since then, the book has been reprinted numerous times and is loved by many people interested in spiritual development. And here I would like to take one detour and talk a little bit about underground theosophy. So before we dive into this novel itself and the ideas it presents, let's think that we live in very privileged times. Time and place. No matter what you see and hear around you, we work openly as a society. We openly identify ourselves as theosophists, meet in public spaces, publish our own books. We are free to practice and share what we consider essential. That hasn't always been the case, and it still isn't in some places. Imagine if the society were officially disbanded by the government, like when it happened in the Soviet Union in the 1920s and stayed until 1980s, or in Nazi Germany during the 1930s and 1940s, or even today in some countries. Imagine if you weren't allowed to talk about theosophy publicly or even privately with like-minded people. Imagine living under constant surveillance as non-trustworthy citizen, risking being sent to jail or exiled to some remote Siberian village. Think, what would you do? And then what they did do. They do. They refused to keep the truth they learned just for themselves, or let it be distorted by communism, Nazism, or other ideologies. They found their ways to share and spread theosophical ideas of brotherhood, truth, beauty, oneness, the path, self-sacrifice, service, and the spiritual evolution of humanity with all they could reach. Maybe with just a few first, but then we know the ideas would spread themselves and grow quietly in minds and hearts. They often shared through their lives, through their writings, through their inner development, using all available means, and one of them was samizdat, as you can see on the screen. which literally means self-published. It was an underground practice of copying and distributing banned or censored works by hand or with a typewriter, which could have led to arrest if discovered. So no matter the circumstances, one can always find a way to stand strong upon all these three pillars: study, meditation, and very active practical service. Now let's take a deeper look at the novel itself. Antarova's friends who witnessed the process were really puzzled about the way it was written. For the first such attempt in novel writing, the work of an almost 2,000-page book was very swift, almost like it were dictated, or as she were simply recording scenes that she saw in her mind. The main work was completed in a surprisingly short time and then abruptly stopped after the first few chapters of the fourth volume. No one knows why this happened. Some have compared her writing process to Blavatsky's work on Isis Unveiled, transcribing what was revealed through astral projection. Others recalled Mabel Collins and The Idol of the White Lotus, which also paused for years until Collins renewed her pure intention for the work, or the time came for that. In all these cases, a profound message is enclosed within the writer's personal and distinctive style. Antarova's case is somewhat similar. For many years, the manuscript was kept safe in Moscow by Antarova's close friend, and during Soviet times, it was secretly shared through samizdat. Even though lodges were dissolved and declared illegal, true theosophists always found ways to disseminate the truth. But imagine that 2,000-page long novel, typing that on a typewriter, or writing by hand just to share a few copies with other friends around. Antarova kept in touch at this time with many of the theosophists, including the members of the Order of the Star in the East. She herself was not a member of the society, though. She reportedly said that at the time there were way too many quarrels between different branches of the Theosophical movement, which prevented her from joining officially. But she was always close, always near. And as Blavatsky wrote in The Key to Theosophy, one can't be a theosophist without formal membership. It shows in your life, not just in your words. Theosophist is who Theosophy does. So Antarova, in my opinion, was a theosophist with a capital T. After the dissolution of the USSR, the novel was finally published and reprinted dozens of times, reaching far beyond our regular audience or theosophical groups. So you may ask now, what is this book about? In it, Antarova uses an engaging fictional form to present key concepts from the vast ocean of ancient wisdom. She emphasized the virtues and qualities one must develop to progress on the spiritual or evolutionary path, pointing out common pitfalls also and offering advice on how to overcome them. So it's pretty practical, very engaging, and very encouraging. The protagonist is a young boy. Later, by the end of the book, it's the young man named Lovushka. It's a short for Leo, with a pure and very sensitive soul and a great talent for writing, who was fortunate to come under the guidance of great teachers. By coincidence, of course, if such a thing exists, Leo meets some highly evolved individuals whom he later recognizes as the masters of wisdom and members of the Brotherhood of Light, or the Bright Brotherhood. That's how she called that in the book. At one point, they offered him to join the group of their helpers and friends, traveling with them across many countries and encountering a wide variety of people and situations. Lovushka gains valuable life experience. They travel from Russia to Central Asia, then Constantinople, then London, and finally to India, to the master's ashram, which some say is described in the way that resembles Adyar. I cannot confirm that, since I haven't been there yet, but hopefully I will, and then I will be able to add something to the talk. While traveling, Leo undergoes a certain kind of training, not so much by being directly told what to do or how to act, but in an experiential way, by facing various situations, observing those involved and their needs, both obvious and hidden, as well as the help offered and the means applied. All the lessons and instructions are tied to specific events and circumstances. This helps Lavushka consistently recognize and understand the most fitting action in each situation, or as Kurt Leland would say, the best next step. He makes mistakes and corrects them. Thus, the training is more practical, like an apprenticeship, not closely guided by hand, but aimed at developing self-reliance, intuition, and discernment. Ultimately, the story moves to an Indian ashram, where the hero meets his fellow disciples, some of whom can be easily recognized as Helena Blavatsky, Henry Steele Olcott, and others. Once again, it remains a great mystery how the author, who never left the country, was able to describe so many lands, places, and characters with such depth and accuracy. Russian Indologist Semyon Tulaev noted later that he was struck by the author's subtle and profound understanding of the unique life of this great Eastern country, its ancient wisdom, yoga, and various locations. The novel presents the core ideas of Theosophy, especially the teachings of the Masters of Wisdom, through a fictional narrative, and unsurprisingly, several well-known masters and other historical figures appear as characters in the novel. So their names, like those of other famous prototypes, are disguised but remain recognizable. So here, Master Moria appears as Ali Muhammad and very often just M. Master Divination as the Florentine. Master Hilarion, or in Russian is Ilarion, as Ilophilion, or simply I, as E. Master Kuthumi as Master or Sir Ut Uomi, and Count Saint-Germain as Prince Saint-Ger. There are some others too, like Master Franciscus, which is also like raises questions and inspires more investigations into this topic. Their disciples visiting the ashram may also be known to us. Helena Blavatsky is described there as Natalia Andreeva, Henry Olcott as Henry Oldenkott, Annie Besant as Lady Birdran, and composer Sergei Rachmaninov as Aninov. So it's not really big disguise, like very often you can just guess who is who. And if not, like with Helena Blavatsky, by the physical appearance and by the description of the character, it's immediately comes to mind that it was her because she described her temper and character so well in the book. So what about this little Leo, the protagonist? His last name is given only as the letter T. So could that have been hidden by the name Leo T? And of course, people say it's hard to think of anyone other than Leo Tolstoy, because that was also the time when he was a child. And of course, not the actual Tolstoy, but an esoteric image of him. Most historical, he was not a child at this moment, but it was just transposition of that. But an esoteric image of him. Most historical prototypes differ from their fictional representations. The sources, speaking of the sources, is pages and pages in the novel are filled with reflections, instructions, and teachings from the Masters of Wisdom. They are like breadcrumbs that Theosophists would easily recognize as leading to the original works, but those unfamiliar with Theosophy can simply follow them, and they will ultimately be guided to the Theosophy itself and to the major Theosophical classics. When I first read this novel, I was deeply struck by a line such as, no one is your friend No one is your enemy, but everyone is your teacher. And that was long before I read The Light on the Path, or it became available to me. Many lines and concepts scattered throughout all the volumes are taken from Theosophical classics, either as direct quotes, disguised as teachings of the masters, or paraphrased. And remember the context. It was written in the times and in the place when and where most people didn't have access to the original works. Presented as a cult novel, Two Lives reached an audience beyond Theosophical circles. It's been translated into French, and Veronique was lucky to get an entire set during our visit to the Relic Museum in New York. And it's only, unfortunately, partially translated into English, but I believe the most important parts, the spiritual parts, had been translated. At the same time, I've heard that there is a group here in the US that is working right now on a complete English translation of all the volumes, so the hope remains. And I would love here to get another stop and another detour. Why novels? Very often people ask this question. Recently, a friend visited me here at the library, the rare book collection. And near my office here, there is a fiction section. We call it occult fiction, but it's more like a broad occult fiction, including occult Tolkien and occult Zelazny. At the same time, we have Zanoni and Hartman's books and Initiation by Elizabeth Huyck and other books. So the question arose naturally, with so many theosophical books, serious books at hand, why do we need fiction? And we had a wonderful conversation discussing some reasons and examples, like John Algeo, our former president, or Robert Elwood, great scholar and theosophist, both loved fiction, not only books, but movies, like Tolkien, Star Trek, and others, but always reading and watching them through a theosophical lens. There were other notable theosophical readers or even writers of occult novels, including Henry Steele Olcott, Helena Blavatsky, our founders of the society, Franz Hartmann, Virginia Hanson with her Masters and Men, Mabel Collins, just to name a few. The list is far too long to cover all at once. Ultimately, I think I managed to explain the reasons, but a few weeks later, Janet Kirshner, our archivist, and also, by the way, who loves the novels, and we discovered in the Library of Scotland a copy of a pamphlet published by us by the Theosophical Society in America in 1929, titled Occult Novels as Theosophical Propaganda, which includes a list of about 200 novels recommended for working along theosophical lines. The author explains, for nearly a century, the novel has been recognized as a powerful factor in changing the current of men's thought and many changes in outlook, as well as practical social and political reforms have been accomplished through its influence. As examples for that, he named Charles Dickens, whose novels played important role in promoting social reform in Britain, and of course the importance of Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, which by vivid depiction of the horrors of slavery helped shift public opinion to support abolition. And by the way, as a fun fact on the side, there is a hidden reference to Uncle Tom's Cabin in The Secret Doctrine. So those who know the book can recognize this reference. But also, according to this author, here's the line of approach to the public that the society should use extensively. For although the novel is a pleasant and popular treatment of many theosophical teachings can be given, and the interest of thousands of people stimulated, who would remain entirely indifferent to more serious argument along similar lines. And experience has shown that if an individual can be persuaded to read a few occult novels, many prejudices will disappear, new and larger conceptions of man and the universe will arise in the reader's mind, and the way will be opened for the real study of theosophical books. By the way, don't be put off by the word propaganda. Those days it simply meant sharing or popularizing stuff with the wider audience. So there are many benefits in reading novels, like explaining difficult teachings through the engaging stories in a way easier to understand, reaching beyond our usual audiences, or communicating in the reader's own language, even to children or non-theosophists, engaging the mind or brain in different and creative ways, but also sometimes bypassing censorship when direct sharing isn't possible, and the two lives fits them all. So a little bit about the topics and the concepts in the book. I will not be going through all of them, for the sake of time, but this book highlights and promotes almost all of them. It's safe to say it encompasses the entire teaching well known from various theosophical classics. If I were to sum it up, I would probably arrive at the golden stairs. But briefly, it explains the initiation or the path of a disciple from very beginning onward, emphasizing that life is a training ground and a spiritual school, and one should not wait for heroic deeds, but live the ordinary great day with dignity and as an act of service. But still, even not going through all these elements and aspects and concepts, I would love to talk a little bit about two things. Give few examples. One will be the guiding principle, is very popular, which is like going through the entire book. And one is one of the core virtues that the masters emphasized as essential at the beginning of the spiritual path. The guiding principle, or a motto, is motto of Antarova's life, is the conquer through life. It emphasizes love as the driving force and the central means for any action, as well as the personal lens that transforms your perception of others. Everything needs to be done through love. It may call to mind various texts and ancient writings, including Virgil's Omnia vincit amor, love conquers all. Or there is also a popular devotional phrase attributed to Krishna, the only way to conquer me is through love, and there I am gladly conquered, which may be a very free interpretation of one verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11. Also, Sri Ravi Shankar comes to mind, who said, even if you lose in love, it's still a victory. So the journey of a hero, or a path of a discipleship, is the path of selfless love. And speaking of the virtues that needs to be cultivated, there is one especially highlighted at the early stages of discipleship, almost a requirement for a candidate. It's a quality not always emphasized in today's society and often replaced by its surrogate. This virtue is tact. Merriam-Webster defines tact as a keen sense of what to do or to say in order to maintain good relations with others or avoid offense. But actually, it's more than just being polite, and it's different from being afraid to offend anyone and stay silent or agree with everything others say. Actually, it means a specific refined perception, the ability to say or to do the right thing in a delicate situation, to handle people and circumstances with grace, showing sensitivity and discretion while still getting your point across. It requires receptivity, acceptance, full attention to the other, and more. The word came into English through French from the Latin tactus, which it simply means sense of touch. It's like touching something or someone very gently with just fingertips, and we know how sensitive, highly sensitive fingertips are, feeling every vibration, even the most subtle ones. And Merriam-Webster also adds a very beautiful line. It says, someone tactful can soothe the feelings of the most difficult person, and a tactless person will generally make a bad situation worse. This virtue seems to be somewhat underappreciated today and extremely important in our times, in our society. So I believe this gives you a good sense of what the novel is about. To conclude on a higher note, I would like to offer a bit of the book's flavor through a few passages and the teachings. In this way, you can experience it, not just learn about it. I call it experiential reading. To keep with the novel's rhythm, I've selected two passages from the beginning, the early stages on the path and the training, and two from the final part of the history happening at the ashram. But keep in mind, this is not the end, since the last chapters, the last volumes, were never written. Also, please remember who this was written for, the Theosophists and Seekers living in times deprived of any form of spiritual study. And please make yourself comfortable. If you like, you can close your eyes. If you want, you can follow the text on the screen. So it goes. My son, you have chosen your path freely. And this path is your love and loyalty to the one you yourself called brother and father. Do not give in to doubt or hesitation. Do not harm your cause with negativity or sadness. Be cheerful, light-hearted, and joyful, ready for any trial, and bring joy to everyone around you. You have taken the road of labor and struggle, so affirm it. Always affirm. Never deny. Never think I will not achieve, but think I will get there. Don't say I cannot, but smile at the childishness of this word and say, I will overcome. Always stay alert and attentive. Love people and don't judge them. But also remember, the enemy never sleeps and will try to use your confusion and carelessness. You have chosen the path where the heroism of feelings and thoughts lives not in dreams, ideals, or fantasies, but in the actions of ordinary, dreary days. If you ever lose peace in your heart, remember me, and let this my gift to you be your symbol of peace, and work for the benefit and happiness of people. Don't get overexcited. If your consciousness has expanded over these days, then undoubtedly your heart must also open up. Certain conventional boundaries must be erased in it, as well as in your thoughts. Now you must look at each person in a new way, seeking in them not what is immediately apparent to everyone, like striking qualities of mind, beauty, wit, or evil traits, but that inner strength and kindness of heart. Only these can be a light in the darkness for all those around, lost in prejudice and passion. And if you want to bring light and freedom to people on their journey, start looking at them in a new way. Learn to carefully notice the difference between what is small and accidental in a person and what is great, born from their labors, struggles, and a series of victories over themselves. Start now, not tomorrow. Let go of the idea that a person is what they seem. Judge only by their action, always trying to put yourself in their position and find justifications for them. Try, for the first time in your life, to look at the faces of your loved ones differently. Let your love for them be the key to a new understanding of the human heart. And use this key to read the power of devoted love that unites all people, regardless of nation, religion, and class. Approach them for the first time as people whose blood is the same as yours. And now, from the last chapters at the end of the path, from the ashram. Forget yourself now and think of others. The one who lives in the eternal conquers through love. There is no longer jumps with his thoughts and moods from the personal to the impersonal, but works in steady joy, offering to each in his work that grain of the eternal by which he himself lives. From now on, live not in seeming humility, but in the true one. Then every gift of mercy will be received with reverent joy, and your gratitude to the truth will be expressed in the labors of the day, light, fearless, confident, and simple. You will not wonder whether you are chosen, worthy, or unworthy of the mercy given to you. You will be happy in your zeal to merge with your life and knowledge into every consciousness you encounter. This does not mean you will invite everyone to share your Holy of Holies. It only means that while keeping the secret of your revelation, you will strive to involve each person in the fruits of your living labor, in your loving joy. You will try to see the sacred in the one you meet. In reverent joy, you will seek the light in them, and through your own justification, help strengthen their balance. And ultimately, when the time came for all the disciples to leave the retreat at the ashram and go back to their daily lives in the world, the masters said, "Today, friends, for many of you is the last day of your life in the community. Do not give in to the sadness that creeps into some of your hearts. Drive away fear and worry that you will not be able to adapt to a world that you have long been out of touch with. Leave all your doubts and fears behind and take with you 3 simple covenants. The first, which should form the foundation of each day, each of your actions, is the thought of the great brotherhood. Whatever you undertake, you must clearly and precisely realize whether you are helping to fulfill their work plan, or whether it's your own selfishness that is guiding your motivation for work. The second is integrity to the end. Give your full attention to every task that the Brotherhood entrusts to you. There are millions of ways in which it can send you its assignments. Do not put attention on the means by which the message reached you. Listen to the message and carry it out. But what does it mean, according to the Brotherhood of Light, to carry out the message? Just to believe that the task has been assigned to you and methodically fulfill it? No, it means to give such love to the appointed task so that your soul is full of joy, so that there is no ordinary great day in which with strain you heroically perform a difficult duty, constantly thinking how many burdens fall to you, to your share. Only then you will remain faithful to the community and the Brotherhood of Light, when the task of the day is light to you as joy, and not as worry and concern. And the third thing to take with you is tact and courage. Never utter a word until complete self-control leads you to the thought. The person who complains, who laments to you, stands at that point in their evolution where it has not yet been revealed to them that everything is within themselves, that they themselves have created their entire earthly life before and are creating it now. And only then seek the courage within yourself to give the most noble answer to any of the lowest questions or the most unworthy complaints. And to conclude, I would like to point out some other resources available for those interested in the topic, or in Antarova's story, or the story in Theosophy in those days in Russia and Eastern Europe, and address a question that some may have. Is there really a need for everyone to read this book? Probably not. No book is that important. In librarianship, there is a guiding principle. To every reader, her or his book, and to every book, its reader. So it's not about reading everything you can find, but about the wealth of materials available that ensures that everyone can find the book that speaks to them in a way they understand best, so that the truth can reach all. For some, this particular book may definitely plant a seed and help them to find the path. The rest, however, is up to the individual, because we all know it's not about how many books we read or how many lines and passages we recite from memory, but about the real work that happens within. So thank you for your attention and for being part of my journey there and back again. And my personal thank you goes to Cora Antarova for her life, work, and a great inspiration. Thank you.
Wow. That was awesome.
And now it's a good time
Really?
for questions and answers if anyone probably have questions.
Yes. No, this was absolutely fantastic. And you brought tears to my eyes because there were so many beautiful quotes you shared. And I know that some people have asked maybe for the PDF, but maybe we can just share the text that you share that you read at the end, because in all honesty, I'm going to write to John because I think this would be a fantastic Thursday night lecture. And not only, the DC Lodge, but other people should be allowed to hear this. Let's start with Chloe and then Robert and then Alex. Go ahead.
So great. I mean, amazing woman, of course. So I just heard a quote that's like, I think it was by Virginia Woolf, woman has always been in history anonymous. So, but I, since she's so mysterious and since there's relatively so much unknown about her and her personal life, um, I mean, which is not uncommon back in those days, but are there any recordings of her opera? Are they any type of like, I mean, this usually this is like I know like this is the time when the phonograph was around. Um, does she have any, is there anything on YouTube that, and also too, did she describe Madame Blavatsky in a very flattering way? In the sensitive way, because she's been described as she's been throwing everything at her. And also one more question is that when her marriage, I found it kind of interesting that she was buried next to her best friend. But when I say best friend, I don't necessarily, I'm a big LGBTQ advocate. Do you think that maybe she could have that was maybe like a lesbian lover she would have had? Because I mean, quite possible. I mean, to be buried next to your friend is very
Yeah.
sapphic, which is completely fine. I mean, like that's what I'm all about. I'm all for equal rights and everything like that. But because if you don't want to talk about your marriage, especially you at that woman at that time, couldn't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go live with a woman that I love." So,
Okay.
but no, yeah,
Let's
definitely.
Alex, let's let Alex answer all your questions. I hope
Yeah.
Okay,
you
yes,
remember that.
thank you.
I
Go
hope
Yeah,
I'll
ahead.
remember.
but
Yeah.
Blavatsky's form and shape,
Yeah.
recordings,
Mhm.
and it was her sexual orientations.
I, yeah, it's okay. First with the recordings, I haven't seen the recordings on YouTube. It doesn't mean that they're not there. They may be just like not findable. I know that the recordings existed because those days they were like producing already like LPs very actively. At the same time, don't forget that Annie Besant died only in the 30s, and we don't have any recording of her, which is also very surprising since she would travel and speak and no one recorded. Machines were everywhere. So the recordings may be around or may be available in the future. But she really, those days, was one of the big stars at the Bolshoi. And Bolshoi is the great one to translate. So it's the major theater in the country. The second one, yes, Blavatsky is very flattering in a good way, like of course she makes some like not really the jokes or something about her temper, but that's what we see in Alcott's diaries or in all other writings, that sometimes she would just get energized and start talking. That was the natural way. And actually, it's incorporated in the book in the way of like teaching and explaining that sometimes there are things that you have to overcome, and there are things like St. Paul said that it was in one of his letters, that there is this uh, thing, something is given to me not to be just too proud and fly too high. It's something that keeps me in the body, like sort of be humble. So for Blavatsky, it definitely was her temper and her life, but at the same time, that was this energy, this vigor inside, like that people could feel and stuff. But yeah, it was really beautiful to see them being there, communicating. And of course, you cannot find the ashram where all the figure out historically what would be the year, what would be the place where they were at the same place, probably it's not possible. At the same time, it doesn't mean that they cannot be there on the astral plane at the same time, living in different countries. And like Krishnamurti taking to the teacher in a dream and being instructed there. Speaking of the marriage and the life, also we need to understand the country those days. The marriage was really, they say it was serious marriage and spiritual marriage with the husband. And the only thing that she started living with the friend, it was after the husband got executed. The thing is, those days, if somebody get executed, very often they don't have a grave at all. They will be just in the jail, unknown grave or the common grave or something. So there's no grave whatsoever. And she was the one like real occultist. If something super significant spiritually, she would just not talk about that too much. And it's a very interesting point about the husband, because people were saying that it's something there with the karmic connections. Something was meant to be. Maybe he was the one who helped her on the way to get to these teachings. Maybe something else there. But this part, when she started coming to Theosophy, we know nothing about. And that was the time when she worked in the opera and got married. But all we know that he was really a spiritual person. And that's probably also executed for that, because there was no judges those days. There was no court cases and listening, like a something. Just suspicion, that was enough. And with her friend, yes, they lived together just because they both were theosophists, and buried together because like in like in Belarus those days and stuff, it's about where you have the plot, where you have the piece of land to be buried. So Antarova got very ill in the last years of her life, and Olga helped a lot and was really taking care of her. We know nothing else, and we cannot like assume or like presume. It's just a mystery, and it's good to accept that as one of these mysteries of her life.
Thank you so much
Mhm.
for the questions and an excellent answer.
But
Robert, go ahead.
great questions, great
Yeah,
questions. Thank you, Chloe.
yeah, that's what I meant. Robert, go ahead.
Well, Alex, another great presentation. You totally crushed it again.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you very
and
much.
in researching her, I noticed that she was a contralto,
Mhm.
which is a type of voice that is exceedingly rare in opera because it has a lower tone. And so for her to actually be a star, if you will, in opera is even that much more impressive. I just put in the chat. It's going to go through. Doesn't seem to go through. I'll read what I have in there. A contralto voice is considered rare, especially in classical music, due to specific combination of low pitch, vocal color, and the slower development of voice. While common in certain genres like opera and choir, and even found in more popular music singers, the dramatic contralto in particular is exceedingly rare because the operatic repertoire contains few roles written for this specific voice type. Some of the voice types are Cher, Stevie Nicks, Judy Garland, Karen Carpenter. The contralto voice is a naturally deep and resonant, making it distinctive and often difficult to classify in the context of other female voice types. So once again, she did the improbable.
Yeah, and actually that's the reason probably why she became a star in this as old countess. Regardless how young you are, they can put like a makeup and stuff, but you cannot fake the voice. You need a special voice to sing this role and stuff. And she was just brilliant in that. And I saw that Anne already put the link on YouTube in the chat. So there are recordings because I checked pretty long time ago that, and I wasn't checking before, like recently. So like there are recordings and everyone can enjoy it afterwards. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will
And by
read the chat. Yeah, what?
yes.
Go ahead, Alex. I will
And
read the comments in the chat in a
yes,
minute.
and by the way, she's not the only Theosophist opera singer because we had Mary Russack, who stayed in Adyar with Alcott and stuff, who was also opera singer. So, you know, like, yeah, go on the Theosophy wiki, read there. And speaking of the talks in general, it's our approach on the wiki, just to find people that really, if you really love something, some topic, do research on what you love. That's the best way to do that and contribute.
Thank you. Yes, that's wonderful to encourage people to help with the
Mhm.
wiki. Alex, go ahead.
Yes, so just two things. I did put in the chat, but I'm also going to mention it here. The book is available in English as PDF. I sent the link to DC Lodge, and they can distribute it as they choose. It comes as a zip file in 3 documents. So the first is like the introduction, and there's volume 1 and volume 2. Okay, so the books are available in English and PDF. I downloaded them myself. You need to sign up with your email, and there's a process. But anyway, you'll follow the process, you'll get the books. I just
Okay,
want to
so
comment on why things are not written down or recorded. Because in the occult tradition, you will never find the true inner secrets. And the great avatars, the great teachers never wrote anything down. They were never recorded. It was always up to their disciples to describe what they thought they heard, right? So we don't really know what the great avatars have ever said, only through their disciples, because there are some things that are ineffable. That means they cannot be communicated mouth to ear. They have to be it has to come from within. And those are the great occult secrets. And therefore, you will not find the deepest secrets in writing. That was my point.
yeah, absolutely. It's even the Blavatsky said, even when she was writing the Secret Doctrine and the Isis Unveiled, she said it's still not everything is revealed through her, and it's not perfectly revealed because, you know, like in many cases, she was not able to describe, put in the words properly. And very often we have this dots, dot, you know, like the omissions and stuff like that. But she also said the only way to understand that any writings we have, it's when you have this work within. So all these ideas, all these books and writings, they just to inspire our intuition. They just, you know, like make us go certain ways, but it start inner work. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So let me read. So Joan said, absolutely beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And then Alex about what she sent to the DC Lodge. And it's not listed on Amazon. So whatever Alex share.
No, it is listed on Amazon, you know, like yeah, it is, you know, like if you look at the book on the slide by Shubin, who translated that, this book is listed on Amazon, yeah.
Okay, good.
I checked on her name, Cora. It might be listed on Concordia, because when I do a Google search, Concordia comes up. Cora does not. So if you want to check Amazon, feel free, look up Concordia Antarova, and then you might find it, possibly.
Good. And then Alex, maybe you would be willing to send me just the excerpts because they are beautiful, and then I can share it if that's okay with you. You can send me those last 4 slides and I can make a PDF. And then Patricia said, many thanks, Alex, for enriching and inspiring talk. Thanks, Alex, from Catherine. And I will send the link. Chloe and Gwyn said, Alex, do you think Stanislavska was a theosophist focused on inner work? Know thyself.
So yeah, here is the very interesting question. Thank you very much for the question, because there were several people in this group who were first disciple of Stanislavski. Another one was Kachanov, also like working in the theater. And one of the books by Antarova, Conversations with the Masters, not conversation, I'm not remember right now the title of that, but one of her small works was a discussion about the theosophical questions with them. So technically, we don't know about Stanislavski himself. We know that Kachanov was also in the same circles. So if Kachanov was a theosophist in close to Stanislavski and Antarova was close to Stanislavski theosophist, we can assume at least that he was exposed to that. Because the ideas there, it's really this to know yourself and to be like genuine, true, and authentic. It's very important. That's what created this, produced the whole movement and the whole idea of the revolution in the field. But as far as I know, like yeah, there's no proofs, but there's no proofs about many of people those days who may have been theosophists, but since they were no lodges, no official membership, were not, they were not able to join or declare themselves as theosophists. So we can just judge from their works and from their actions, and sometimes from these little lines here and there that may have been like theosophical lines.
Mm-hmm. Gwen, you raised your hand. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Alex, Stanislavski came to New York, and basically his teachings, I was a Stanislavski student in theater, and his teachings were all about bringing your inner self out into not only that, but being able to step in the shoes of the actor or whatever part you're playing. So I understand that during that time in Russia, they were not allowed to be outspoken about theosophy or any kind of, it would be considered a conspiracy, you see. So thank you so much for that, because I never made that link until your talk. And because I'm very familiar during that time with those particular people, and especially about the contralto and the opera and all of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. I didn't dwell too much on Stanislavski this time because it would be like go too far away, but it's one of the topics, and that may be good in the future for those who know better the system and method and to see through the theosophical lens and look at that deeper. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then Christian said, wonderful talk, Alex. So happy I could be here. Anne put a link in, and so I'm going to share that when I send the recording. And Jane also thanked you. Awesome talk. It was so interesting, and I love the way you put it all together, Alex. You really know what you're doing. Do you have any concluding words before we finish the session?
No, probably just thank you all. And if you know any other names like that you are curious about, please also like share with others. I would love to hear more and get more names out of this like a shady side of history. Like yeah, some people like try to stay away and be
The
not
Wizard of Oz, the writer of the Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz was a theosophist. I mean, yeah,
We
I
have,
mean,
yes, we have pretty long list on the Theosophy Wiki who was Theosophist, who was not, who we assume may have been a Theosophist or something.
but he
So
was
please check
confirmed.
that.
So, but
But
he's
overall, yes,
confirmed.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And Rorik's
Okay.
paintings are
Yeah.
very important in this.
Yeah, and Alex gave a wonderful talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that. So with that, I really want to thank you. And I will, send the recording later tonight. And I hope you can join us again next week when Alex St. Clair is going to talk about Lemuria. And I just want to announce this. In 2 weeks, we are going to have a talk by somebody called Ed Futte, who has been giving a lot of talks for the Edgar Cayce Foundation. It's going to be on the secrets of the Essenes, and he sent me handouts, and it's going to start at 11 a.m. So we are not going to do the self-culture. It's a long talk, but I asked him to leave time for questions, and I hope you can join us then too. It's going to be very interesting. He is, he gives a lot of talks, but our lodge picked this particular topic. And with that, I want to thank you for being here. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again next week. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much. Excellent, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Very good,
Bye-bye.
Alex.
Very
That
good
was
to see you all.
Thank you.